Okay then, welcome to everybody currently watching to this Race 5 of Season 2 of Project Ameliorate, hosted by Racing Pals. This is, as you may well already know, our premier open-wheel racing series in which every 2 weeks teams can upgrade their cars and try and get an edge over their competitions. And of course, race one another on the track as well for good measure. For this, the second to last round of the season, we are at Autopolis, a lesser known Japanese track, but one which looks to be very promising if it has as much excitement to offer as it has corners. You can see the track map on screen, which I'm sure you'll all want to have a nice look at, as very few people have ever actually really properly seen this. The only person I can think of that has is probably one of the drivers here, I think might be in the background there, Mr. Robin Moe. I don't really know what to say about Autopolis myself, except that it's a very traditional Japanese track in that it has one corner which is named after the radius of the corner rather than anything in particular. And certainly I will be experiencing with you exactly what it will be like to see a race around here. As we see in the background, one of the Spinardi boys and one of the PC Racing boys going at it, and the PC Racing boy deciding to get a bit loose and almost, well, and off into the gravel. Let's have a look then before, as we come to the last 10 minutes of this practice session, at the drivers' standings. At the moment, Daniel Scott leads the championship. This is without including the drop weeks. Drop weeks will be properly accounted for the last race to calculate who exactly might be in for a shot after this race at winning the championship. But Daniel Scott leads at the moment on points alone with 114 points. Then Darkius is second with 110, and Robin Moe third with 105, although tied with Ivan Baratz, who also has 105, but I believe fewer, if any, race wins than Mr. Moe, who had a very dominant start to this season. But despite the 15 points penalty that he received for illegal upgrades earlier in this season, I believe after race 2, in fact. Going down the order, Crime takes P5, and Indian Bus Drivers 4-5 in the standings at the moment, which is certainly helping them in the dry end teams championship, as you will see shortly. L1LDT then takes 6th for Team Spectre, followed by Thomas Jack, Sylvan Hubble, Benjamin Morak, and Gons, rounding out the top 10. Devdo then takes P11, followed by Aaron Rains, then Deep Cuts, Jake and a Snack, Suicidal Cookie, Matt Linham Anderson, Nick Chin, Dion, Kai Sforza, and Nathaniel Foltz Rochelle to P20, and Sench, Massier Heiler, Michael Randall, and Jeroen Odador take the P24. And there are a few others down the order, as we have had upwards of 30 drivers in this championship overall. But these are the ones currently still in contention for those top spots. Looking then towards the team championship, Indian Bus Drivers currently lead with 270 points. Again, Ivan Baratz and Crime and the teammate former teammate of Gons, having pulled quite a lot of weight to give themselves a 20 points advantage going into the 2 final races of this season. But Team Spinardi is only 20 points behind with 250 points. And with some upgrades that we will shortly see them having brought to this race and to next, they will be hoping to cut down that advantage of the Indian Bus Drivers over this and the next race and come home to win the team's championship. Team Spectre then take 3rd place after a successful upgrade mid-season, which hasn't necessarily paid off as much as they would like due to unfortunate results at Sonoma. But they are still P3 with 222 points, your reigning champions in the team standings. Small PP come P4, followed by the Spinning Baguettes, the Leftovers, Cilliams Racing, Peace T Racing, Lada Martini, QP, Velocita, and Full Steam Racing round out your top 12. shall we then have a look as I take off the... Oh, why has it done this to me? I love Assetto Corsa sometimes. There we are. It's giving me my actual overlay. Let's take a look then at what's happening in this practice session as we come to the final 5 minutes. We are now looking at the Lada Martini car of Mats Linum Andersen, who currently sits P1, and that car is extraordinarily quick. And I do wonder why. Well, we know why. I'm going to use the F1 cam because I don't want to mess up my F5 cam. So you'll see on the back of the car, if you ignore the broken suspension that seemingly has come along with it, there are 2 rather odd looking fans at the back. That's right, this race we have brought the Brabham innovation of the fan car, for better or for worse. I'm not quite sure what to make of it right now, but Mats is absolutely soaring through this field. I do know the fans also have a weird LOD distance shift, but oh well, we'll just have to live with that. Yes, the fan car was originally dreamt up by the Spinardi team, who I will have a look at now. Mr. Daniel Scott here in P3 already has a version of the fan car. I believe it might be different strengths depending on how much they have paid in research tokens for the privilege. Have a look at the back of that. For some reason their side pods are also all black for me right now, but is that meant to be like that? I don't know. I cannot remember for the life of me what the car looked like last race, but it looks alright. So this is the Spinardi car, having dreamt up the idea of the fans and having shared those thoughts with the Lada Martini car of Mats Andersen and his teammate, whoever that might be today. I think Lada Martini are the team at the moment with the most drivers of the whole season, which is impressive considering I know that Spectre have had at least 4, and Small PP I think have also had at least 4. Also there's a slight audio glitch on the camera on the front stretch, but unfortunately there's only one camera on this particular version of Autopolis. But we can always ride on board instead. And naturally, as I ride on board, Daniel Scott returns to the pit lane. But we can see Robin Moe instead. With all the things that the upgrades, as Assetto Corsa is wont to do, have broken on the car. Broken suspension, some weird artifacts going on in front of the nose of the car. And I actually happen to know it's Robin Moe's fault. When he did the modelling, he accidentally moved something on the bodywork of the car, so the mirrors also don't line up with the rims. But we need to focus on that. So Mats Linum Andersen currently has done a 122.254, suggesting that they have quite a powerful version of the fan on that car at the moment, and certainly a driver who will know how to make the most of it. Almost, well, over 5 seconds ahead of P2 at the moment, Robin Moe, and then P3 Daniel Scott. The Spinardi cars, the 2 other cars with the fans, go themselves, and then 10 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. Obviously we'll have to see what is done in quali, but well, judging by this, the fan car may have to end up going the way of the Brabham, which is very suitable really when you consider it. Robin Moe was telling a great little anecdote about the interviews with Gordon Murray during those Brabham years, and apparently he was having the exact same discussions as they had had back then about how to set qualifying pace, whether to sandbag or not. But it certainly seems that these fan cars will be quite dominant in today's race. But, you know, they could always end up tangling with each other and taking each other out, and there will always be back markers to contend with. A little ride on board then with Darkius, as he if he doesn't return to pit lane, as usually happens when I want to do this sort of thing, comes down the start-finish straight to start a flying lap. He comes to the first turn, which is, as far as I can see, one of the only corners on the track that has any sort of name I can find. And it's just called first turn. Then up to turn 3 now after the turn 2 kink. The double left-hander of turn 4 and turn 5, followed by the first hairpin turn of turn 6. Yeah, this track is full of corners. Turn 7 on the exit. And now we come to turn 8, which is 100R, which is 100 radius of a corner, much like Suzuka's 130R and other such corners, 200R as well. Now up to the T10 hairpin is followed by what is known as the roller coaster straight. As you can see, the absolute elevation change going on in this portion of track, followed by a very tight right hand turn 11 and turn 12, a bit more sweeping through to a little S section of turn 13 through to turn 14, which then tightens up all towards a little kink of turn 15. And then another left-hander, turn 60, which takes you up to the long sweeping final turn, which is a turn that certainly looks like it should have a radius number, but doesn't. And turn 18 takes you on to the start-finish straight again. Certainly looks like a fun little track. And certainly looks like we will get some interesting racing going on around here. Depending on what drivers can do, as I think I missed the Lada Martini car of, I think that may have been Husky. Yes, it was. He returned to the pit lane anyway, as practice is now ended. The camera did not show the car coming out the pit lane and taking the outside line, which Starkey has just fed into and took the Lada Martini car out. Why is this camera being used? I don't know. This is my most fun F6 camera. I think I pressed F2 by accident, which just takes me between cameras. My most fun F6 camera, to be honest with you, because I don't know what the F6 cameras are doing in this. As practice ending, I'm going to go through them quickly. So that's the one that I like. It's a normal one looking backwards. Then for some reason this is the second F6 camera after that. I mean, and then this seems normal, you know, left front suspension sort of camera. Again, normal, rear right, sort of looking forwards. So it's got some normal cameras. And then we just go back to overhead. But let's reset it to rear view. So, practice is over, and again, Mats Linham Andersen with a 1:22.254 sets the pace for this session. His teammate, Husky, having not put in a lap, sitting down in P15. There are, I believe, more than 15 drivers. They're just only 15 that have gone out during that practice session. At least during the time in which my timing tower has recognized them out in that session. The track map on the top right is going to be perhaps a little struggle to be seen. I could move it. Should we try and move it down here to see what it's like? Because it's going to get obscured. There's a lot of white buildings and white fences on the outside of the track, which often obscure the track map. So I'm going to try and move it down there, and if it doesn't work, I'll move it back. But you can see that Robin Moe and Daniel Scott certainly have pace over the rest of the field, even if they can't catch the other fan car of Mats Linham Andersen. And we'll see what they can do in qualifying, but again, it's possible they have different levels of grip and downforce depending on exactly how many tokens they have been willing to spend on their upgrade. As cars start to filter out of the pits, we look at the portion we can until someone comes out, and Husky is the first to come out of the pit lane and begin their outlap. But on the tail, Mats Linham Andersen is going to get past quite nicely. you can see the pace some of these cars have around here. It's extraordinary going from what we knew in Season 1. If you remember back to Season 1, Race 1, where the only major advantage one team had over another was that the Cilium's cars of Dion and Devdo had taken a shorter first gear, which had given them a little more acceleration and given them a massive advantage in that particular race. They would certainly not be doing anything near like this. I certainly wouldn't be able to run this track, it'd be too big for those cars, and now look where we are. Only one race before the season finale at Suzuka in 2 weeks' time. Sorry, not 2 weeks' time, 3 weeks' time. As I believe we're taking a Labor Day week off, or weekend off, due to the particular American holiday. So we have an extra week to wait after this one to see the season finale. But here we go as Mats takes the line to start his first flying lap. Tom, what are you saying that is stupid? Labor Day weekend or the pace of this car? It's almost impossible to commentate what's actually happening here, as he's going so quickly, but he's rounds the first turn very nicely, the first hairpin turn, sorry, very nicely, up to 100R. I'm not even sure if he's lifting. Oh look, there is a Cilium's car, I believe that might be... Oh, Cilium gets out of the way just in time. You know, I'm actually going to see, can I get my pedals out? Right, I want to see this. Ignore the camera moving around all haywire like. Right, so the pedals app at the top of the screen shows you exactly what this car can do. And Tom, you should probably watch this if you're still watching, because this is... Oh, Tom, you're not racing. Sorry, I forgot that you're, having done the 24-hour Le Mans race earlier, has been replaced by Kai Sforza and Sench. I'm not sure which one of those is a regular teammate at this point for this race. But look at the pure throttle. I think that's live. Might not be, maybe. But Mats and Manson on his first lap, I don't think that is live. I think that is not actually showing me what he's doing input-wise. It's just showing me a full throttle. Oh no, it is. That is real. Okay, that's even more concerning than I first thought. So... This car has so much grip in these corners that I thought my pedal box wasn't showing me his inputs. But apparently it is. So he has to brake for the hairpin before the roller coaster. He has absolutely no compunction in these corners. No need to brake whatsoever. No need to lift whatsoever. I think he has to shift down there into third. He just weaves his way through back. I mean, they may as well as qualifying, so not really, but we may as well call them back marker cars. Which I think will come into play in the race itself if he's not careful. He's going to cross the line to finish his second lap. And it's a 22.8. So let's have a quick look then at what the other fan-assisted cars are doing. Daniel Scott in P2 at the moment, ahead of his teammate. Probably for the first time in quite a few races, taking the lead off of his teammate. Done a 1:27.799, but the less powerful fan on this car clearly not doing quite so well as the others, and I think either this fan car is either going to be disallowed or discontinued after the next race, or everyone is going to have to get it. Daniel Scott, so Robin Moe still having now done a 1:27.851, still not quite matching the pace of his teammate here, who has managed a 27.799, getting a little stuck at the end of that lap behind a back marker. But again, look at the pedal box. A little more lifting needed, as the way the fan car works, well, the way the fan car worked traditionally was it was tied to engine revs. Sadly, Assetto Corsa either doesn't allow for that, or the particular mod maker that made the original version of the fan that has been adapted for the use by the Spinardi team, who did have to personally find all the figures, find the way to manage the upgrade, and model the actual fans on the back of the car. So at the very least there is some work that has had to go into this from the Spinardi team, even if they're not currently the ones benefiting the most from it. The way the fan car worked originally though was to do with the RPM of the car, so it was a bit like the old turbos. The sort of Ayrton Senna style of driving where you just keep the car in higher rev as possible in order to keep the turbo spooled up. However, it's kind of a little different idea where you have to keep the engine revved out as high as possible to keep the fan spinning as high as possible to give you more grip through those corners. However, I believe this fan car doesn't work on revs. I believe it works on some way with the speed of the car, which is a little disappointing. It'd be far more fun if they had to try and keep the revs up, which would certainly see. But then it also proves why Daniel Scott is having to lift a lot more, because he, with the less powerful version of the fans, has less grip than Mats Lindholm Andersen. And thus, as the car slows down naturally for the corners, the grip falls away even more than Mats is currently doing, and thus he has to also lift off more to prevent the understeer and get around the corner. Yeah, some electric car absolutely revving out somewhere back there. Let's have a look, I think, at a more traditional car. Okay, let's not have a look at Jaker, as he's in a barrier. Let's have a look at Darkius, so the Cilliams car is off there in the grass. I want to have a look, actually, because you can compare his inputs whilst I still have the pedal app on the screen. Just look at the difference in cornering ability and speed. The visible speed of cornering, as well as the inputs and braking, is so much higher. I mean, there was a rake into the downhill right-hander at the bottom of the roller coaster, which the fan cars haven't even had to worry about, and I don't think I've seen any of the fan cars, which I might have seen Mats do it once, have any sort of slides out of corners like Darkies just did then. Oh, as Darkies gets very squirrely and onto the gravel up at last corner. I'm not sure who that is, it's absolutely screeching. There's a small PP car of Sench yet to set a lap time. There is some sort of audio glitch, I think, going on in that corner. But we shall have a look at Sench. Is he on a valid lap? I should actually be able to have a look. I'm going to try and have a look. Well, sorry. I was going to the live timing page to have a look, and Sench decided to ease my burden somewhat and put it off track and invalidate anyway. Assumedly invalidate. Sench currently not then on a lap, but he will, I think, just about get another lap to play with. Let's have a look. I'm going to take the pedal app now off the screen, as I think we are done with that requirement. And Sench has come across the line and will not get another lap in. I thought he would have had one. That is unfortunate for the small PP driver. And Husky will cross the line now-ish. The silence falls. I think he must have crossed the line at some point in there, but okay, so there it is. Assuming that Aaron, Jacob, and Devdo all do not beat the fan cars, which does not look likely, Mats Linham Andersen takes pole position with a 1:22.514, followed shortly by his teammate with a 1:23.975 as Devdo goes off into the gravel. And Jacob Skrodsky decides to have a little spin for good measure, ending, I think, everyone's current runs as Husky has completed his lap. The speed difference is just mind-blowing to watch. And then Daniel Scott and Robin Molen, the Spinardi cars, take P3 and P4 with a 26.8 and a 27.1 respectively. Jacob the Snake for Peace T Racing takes P5 over 10 seconds back from the Spinardi teams, coming up to 20 seconds back off of Mats Linham Andersen, at least 17 seconds between them. Darkius then for Team Spectre takes a P6 with 1:39.224, but his teammate at the moment is nowhere to be seen. Meanwhile, Jarmeek Smith takes P7 141 point something, give me a second. Jarmeek Smith takes P7 with 141.214. He replaces Deep Cuts, who is the regular PC driver, for, I believe, the second race in a row. Kai Sforza then for Small PP, replacing Thomas Jack, or being a primary driver, or whatever the situation is with that particular team and their sort of three-driver lineup. Kai has certainly had his share of races this season thus far. He takes P8 with a 144.831. Aaron Fiedler then P9, followed by Jacob Skrodsky and Devdo, the Cillian boys, P10 and P11. Nathaniel Foltz, Rochelau and Charlie then also line astern as a team with P12 and P13. But all four of those cars just mentioned only in the 150s. That's a 30-second gap between, certainly between the Velocity guys and basically between the Cilliams and the Lada Martini of Mats Linham Andersen. Sench then takes P14, having not set a lap, and anyone else who has not taken to the track in this qualifying session will also have not done a lap and will be starting behind Sench. I think there are at least two. Yes, there are. Benjamin Warwick and Sylvain Hubble, the Spinning Baguettes Hilius Community Racing Team, take to the back of the grid to start 27 laps, which I think are going to go a lot quicker than perhaps we thought going out of the last race, due to the absolute dominant pace that some of these cars have. It is 16 cars on the grid. I know quite a few drivers are not here, having been a little tired after the iRacing 24 Hours Le Mans that took place over the last 2 days. M1 LDT not appearing as the teammate for Darkius for Team Spectre, for example. But the lights are on, and it is in Assetto Corsa style 6 lights, and they are off. Mats Linham Andersen gets away well, but look at that, the Spinardi boys are bogging down and falling through the field. Daniel Scott down to P10, a big crash between Cilliam's car, and I couldn't quite make out, I think that might have been one of the, Sylvain Hubble and Darkius both involved in that incident. There's another car off behind them. There's Sylvain Hubble now trying to work his way up, but both the Spinning Baguettes, despite their involvement there, up to P13 and 14. Nathaniel False Rochelau down to P15. Daniel Scott has made his way up to P4 now after that rather bad start at the beginning of this race. Let's have a look. Sench now, a little battle here for P11. Sylvain Hubble ahead of Charlie, and Sench, I think, also around 100 are going to be ahead going into the hairpin, and he is. Aaron Fiedlak, meanwhile, has overtaken Kai Sforza. The QB car having more pace than I had expected. Oh, that's the other driver who's not here at the moment, probably due to tiredness after the iRacing Le Mans race, is Suicide the Cookie, Aaron's teammate in the QB car. Just one QB for today. Darkius, meanwhile, has left the pit lane, but is 30 seconds behind of Nathaniel Fols-Rochelau. And we see Matthew Anderson, meanwhile, has already stretched out his lead, but he goes off the track. Well, the fan assistance makes it a little less concerning than perhaps it would be otherwise, but he is not currently safe from threat from his teammate, and at this pace is going to be catching up to back markers. You can see there Darkius P16, only 3 odd corners ahead of the Lada Martini cars. Daniel Scott, meanwhile, now racing with his teammate Robin Moe for P3, and Daniel leading the championship right now is going to want that position, teammate or no. Back, Sench now stuck a little bit behind the electric powered engine of Devdo, but gets past Jameek Smith to the inside, but Jameek fights back. I wish there was another camera angle for this, but sadly there is not. Look at the pace these cars have, even these cars have through some of these corners, is miraculous compared to what they were just a couple of races ago. Silva and Hubble seems to have suffered now to P10. A look on board with the French driver, French car, falling back a little bit. Devdo, meanwhile, as Sench goes wide, a hairpin certainly proving to be the sticking point for the pace of a lot of these cars. Electric power in it. Jameek Smith has nothing to fight back with until he gets to the corner. At which point he is going to get back past, and Dev gets caught on a curb, and now back down to P10 for him. Meanwhile, P1 and P2, Matson and Anderson and Husky are past Darkius, and I think in passing Darkius, Husky has dropped back a little bit further off of his teammate. The gap now 2 seconds behind. Sylvain Hubble now against Sench. It is electric power once again versus conventional power down the straight. Sench will have the advantage, but into turn 1 and afterwards, at least through the hairpin section, certainly Sylvain Hubble will hope to come back with a little bit more advantage in the corners, as has been seen throughout the rest of this season. Gaps have started now to balance out. Robin Moe has been overtaken by his teammate Daniel Scott and is falling off a little bit, at least in this portion of this race. Jake now on the back of Devdo, out of the first hairpin. Again, the electric power comes into its own, but then around 100R cornering speed of the PCT car is going to hope to make some sort of impact. But this, despite the number of corners on this track, there are enough little straights. But a little lock up there from Devdo through the chicane, now down to the roller coaster. Jake is going to have to try and fight as hard as he can into the next corner to maintain his advantage, but has nothing really to do before the corner comes up. I guess a good exit, and once again is ahead back into P9. Devdo is struggling, as we have seen the electric cars doing throughout this season, especially the Cilium's car in these corners. Particularly so there. Oh, don't look at his helmet. Particularly slow here, to the point at which I'm not even sure if he's fully on the pace. But then into the start-finish straight, the power of the electric engine comes into play. And he gains, although not enough, on the PCT car ahead. So it's struggling to make the corner. Next up, Sench, meanwhile, then into P8 behind Aaron Fiedlak in the QB car. Gets very deep there into the first hairpin, but Aaron is off the track and has to make the rejoin. He's got to get back up the pace, but said she's going to have him, I think, around the outside of 130R. Not quite. The distance was much further than it looked on the camera, but he gets through after the corner into the right-hand turn that leads up to the second hairpin and the roller coaster downhill. And that lock-up from Senchlo, but Aaron is round. Aaron on the exit, I think, put the power on too early and is around and maybe into the wall a little bit there after the tight hairpin. Oh, and he's almost done it again. But for now, he has managed to keep the car, at least get the car back on track. But down to P10 for him. Sench now far, far up the road, and he has lost 2 other places in that incident. Let's have a look. Where is our race leader? Husky is on the main straight. I've only just noticed that Husky has taken the lead from Mats Lindholm Andersen at some point. Perhaps Matt's having an off-track himself. But Husky now is going to have to contend with some of this traffic. And does so very nicely. He is past the P5 car of Kai Sforza already. This is a ridiculously dominant performance from this particular car. And you can see again, Robin Moe and Daniel Scott in the less powerful version of the fan car have taken P3 and P4, but are 40 to 50 now seconds. Let's have a look. Kai Sforza, I thought, had lost time spinning out, but no, that was just the cornering speed difference. A good 40 seconds off of the Spinardi cars ahead is Kai Sforza. And now at the back of the grid, Darkius has overtaken Jacob Skodsky. So after that first lap incident, which necessitated a pit stop for Darkius, Team Spectre car driver, he is back now up to P13 and will continue to try and work his way through the field to maintain that P3. As he almost does a copy of what Aaron Fiedlak did earlier. He always fight though to make that advantage and keep that P3 in the team standings that his team currently holds. But as a single driver in this race in his teammates' absence, he will find that rather difficult, I think, to do. As Charlie for the Veloster Racing team has come into the pit lane, either to repair the car or for whatever other purposes he might have. And Aaron Fiedlak now to 10th place. I believe getting passed by Devdo on the straight. The power of the Cilium's electric engine coming into play against the conventional power, but there's a lock-up ahead from Devdo, and I think that's the sound of gravel being touched. And yes, it was. Devdo is in a barrier somewhere. Oh, and he spins again. He's trying to find his way back on track. He's down to P12. Oh, and again. He now gets passed by Darkius. Formerly P12 car is now down to P13. And again, you can see the struggles that he has through these corners. That first sector treating him very nicely. But the rest of the track certainly not doing so. Jarmeek Smith then. Now in the battle for best of the rest. Well, the best of the rest of the rest, I guess. If you consider that Husky and Mats Lindholm Andersen are currently the best, Daniel Scott and Robin Moe are the best of the rest, and Kai Sforza and everyone down there are the best of the rest of the rest. But Jarmeek Smith again trying to fight against Kai Sforza, but the power of the electric engine on the straight through this first sector is certainly playing into the small PP advantage just as much as it has been playing into the hands of Ciliums, although the upgrades to the small PP car had benefited it more through the corners than Cillian's had, but that is Jarmeek Smith after a mistake. A misstep from Kai Sforza. Jarmeek Smith is up to P5. However, good news for small PP is Sench is up to P7. So at the very least they have a P6, P7 in the standings as things are. Jacob Skrotsky now fighting against Nathaniel Pulse Rochelau. Oh, very close to being contact there. But it looks, as we come now to the final corner, Jacob Skrotsky going to have the better edge, I think, in terms of their current power, even if they are both running the electric engine. And yet he is running away a little bit from Nathaniel Pulse Rochelau behind. The Veloster racing car having far fewer upgrades to play with than the Cilliams car, despite having a very similar philosophy in having electric engine and high downforce wings. Jaker now ahead of Sench once again, as Sench is nowhere to be seen. Sench, oh, he also got loose on the power, I think, and ended up himself into the gravel as one of the Spinardi cars laps him at some speed. We are 8.7 laps in, and this man here, your race leader, Husky, is absolutely flying around this track. 6 seconds now ahead of his teammate. But the P1 and P2 for the Lada Martini cars. As we go silent over the start finish for whatever reason that wants to happen. He's now lapping. Will be coming up to lap next Sench, and I'm not entirely sure it's for the first time, as I'm certain that he has already lapped Jarmeek Smith, who is 13 seconds back, and possibly even lapped Daniel Scott already. But that is less certain. I think that might not be the case. Actually, wait, no, sorry, I forgot. Our track map gives us a nice little indication of who is lapping who and where. The green cars on the track map, or the blue car, sorry, the light blue car, is the car we're watching. That is the car of Matsson and Madison, which, even with its fan assistance, doesn't have the pace with its conventional engine. On the straight line, you can see there, Sench actually pulling away a little bit, but it wasn't quite enough. But the light blue car is Husky on the track map in the bottom right corner. The green cars are those on the same lap. So on this lap at the moment, he has behind him Matsson and Anderson, his teammate, 6 seconds, well 5 seconds now behind. In front of him, Robin Moe and Daniel Scott are the only 2 cars not yet lapped, but it looks as though they might be quite shortly. As Mats comes to the back of Kai Sforza to lap P6, what is the second time, I believe at least. I'm judging by the fact that this was a 1:20 lap time for them, and Jarmeek Smith is already 1:20 seconds off of Robin Moe. Actually, Jarmeek is about to get lapped by Robin Moe. So yes, it must be the second time that Mats will have lapped most of these drivers. Robin not finding it easy to lap the PCT car, but manages to do so. And Jarmeek has to save the car as he gets lapped by Husky. And the absolute pace difference you can see when riding on board with the slower cars. Almost a collision there between the Lada Martini car and one of the Veloster racing cars. They come through the final corner. It's now going to be, for the first time, why does it keep doing that? For the first time that I've seen thus far, fan car versus fan car. You can see the pace on the straights is not where their advantage lies. It's purely in the ability to maintain speed through the corners, and that's Robin Moe going off the track in turn 1. I'm losing that spot very tidily. to Husky, who now has another 18 seconds to make up to get to Daniel Scott, but I think he'll do so in less time than otherwise other cars might. Daniel Scott, meanwhile, very much right now in a race of his own. The pace they have, but he's got relative clean air in front of him. He will be lapping the two spinning baguettes cars of Sylvain Hubble and Benjamin Wolrack shortly. But then beyond that, he's got to get up to Darkius next up the road, and Aaron Fiedlak, who are currently fighting for P9. Looks like Darkius may have already won that particular fight. Oh, contact! Aaron tries to take the outside line there, and it does not work. The gap was closed quite shortly. I'm not sure who was actually at fault for that for definite certainty. However, Aaron has assumedly taken the fault upon himself and given the place back for good measure, as a sort of gentleman's agreement that will perhaps result in no penalty for either driver if they do not submit a ticket for it. Sench then still fighting the battle currently, or the most exciting inter-team battle right now seems to be Small PP versus Peace T Racing. As they currently sit P5, P6, P7 and P8 together. As down the main straight, Sench, the engine allows him to catch up massively, and again this sector 1 advantage if he can control those exits, but he did not seem completely in control of that exit there, and that is hurting, I think, the pace that these cars can have through sector 1, and then leading them to suffer the deficit of the weight of the electric engine through the more cornering based sections of this track. Meanwhile, inter-team fighting combined with a lapping car of, I believe it might be Jarmeek Smith, I think it is, as Devdo gets a little loose on the exit there himself, but was at least gaining a little bit on his teammate of Jacob Skrodsky, but is now a couple of 1.4 seconds back, make that a little bit more as he takes the gravel runoff at the final corner. And here we have Jacob the Snack versus Kai Sforza. Sench having then dropped off of the battle, Jacob is now trying to make it a P5, P6 for PC Racing. Again, he's going to have to try and get around Kai Sforza. Certainly no slouch in this car, we know. And with the straight line speed, maybe can put up a bit more resistance than his teammate did. There's Defto, Jacob Skrodsky, as Jacob gets, as we've seen with a lot of these electrically powered cars, the torque kicks in and they get loose on the exit and have to recover, and that loses them both time and often a place. It's right on board then with Jacob the Snack in his battle and search. Oh, there's a lock-up there from Jacob, but also a lock-up from one of the Cilliams cars that takes the runoff behind him. And it may have been the P14, yes it is, of Jacob Skrodsky. Jacob now looking for the advantage. He has the cornering advantage and takes P6 for the mean time from Kai Sforza. But he takes the gravel and spins. Almost he saves the car, but he's been passed once again by Kai Sforza, and Sench now with the electric power. He comes around the final turn, which is for some reason called... Oh! That was Kai off the track. Or not off the track, but off to the sideways on the track, sorry. And then I think he collected his teammate in that, and Jaker takes the pit lane, as does Kai Sforza, and Sench is through to P6. And you may have noticed there, one of the Lada Martini cars seeing the accident and taking to the grass entirely to avoid it. With their pace that they have, it might actually be safer than trying to brake. So Sench now, always lapping car, has to take some avoiding action there. That was the P3 of Daniel Scott. Sench is going to have a significant advantage now on the two drivers he was up until very recently fighting with. Jaker comes out of the pit lane in P8, but Kai Sforza is still there, possibly with more damage, down to P12 now. Yep, Kai comes out of the pit lane in P12, Jaker in P8, but Sench has a 33-second gap to Aaron Fiedelack in P7, a car who I don't think he has anything to fear of. Jaker then is 36 seconds back off of Sench, and that's going to give him some breathing room to play with as we come to lap 17 of this race. 10 laps to go, 11 I guess, but you know, as that's a velocity car there in the background, off into the gravel. That's Nathaniel Foltz Rochelau. He's going to get back on track. Oh, he's struggling. He's struggling to get back onto the track, I think. So you see, you cannot see his steering wheel. That suggests, or that means, basically, he has a large amount of suspension damage, and it seems to have made him essentially unable to turn right. What he should do here by the rules is use the... Yep, and he does so. And judging by him sitting in the pit lane, he has done it in the proper fashion by the rules. And he's used the escape menu back to pits button. He's now serving a control lock the duration of his tow. It looks like he must have had a crash and had no ability, essentially, to turn left when he really, really needed to. And the rule was added, is now a part of the series, that if you use the custom shaders patch, oh, as Aaron Fiedler gets past Jacob the Snack, having been passed recently by the looks of it. Jacob the Snack gets very, very loose. Has to save the car again, and Aaron Fiedler back up to P7. I don't think he'll be there for long, but again, Aaron is not the battle Jacob wants to be having. Jacob locks up and Aaron takes the hairpin very nicely. But this is not the battle, that Jacob wants to be having. Jacob wants to be having the battle 30 to 40 seconds up the road. Jacob once again locking up. Jacob wants to be having that battle again, like I say, 40 seconds up the road with Sench in P6. As I was saying, the rule was added that the use of the custom shaders patch back to pits button is now illegal unless under specific circumstances, as doing so does basically two things. It removes the tow, so you do not have the control lock time that you should have for having to return to the pit lane. The only case in which we allow the return to pits button to be used in that manner, or that particular version of return to pits button, is if the car is stuck in a physics object or falling through the map, which would mean the Assetto Corsa physics engine knows the car isn't stationary, or in the case of being stuck in a physics object, believes the car is not stationary due to the car being bounced around by its collision. And thus the back to pits menu in the escape menu will not be able to be used by the driver, so returning to pits by the custom shaders patch option is the only available option to those drivers. And by using the escape menu, you have to serve the tow, which means you can't simply do the other thing that is probably the custom shaders patch button and cross the line, return to pits, and immediately drive out with a fresh car. So Nathaniel did it properly, but he is still in the pit lane, possibly with a long period of repair. Mats Linham Anderson, meanwhile, despite his dominant display in qualifying, with a second or so off of his teammate, or above his teammate's time, or faster than his teammate, is now only 9.5 seconds behind his teammate in P2. Certainly not the race that he may have been wanting after that qualifying session, but for Lada Martini and these two drivers having very little skin in the Drivers' Championship, for Lada Martini the Constructors' points will certainly be a nice little bonus that he had. As Jacob the Snack still now 24 seconds back from Sench, has certainly eaten into that advantage Sench had, as I think we just saw. I don't even know what we just saw. That was the quickest overtake I've seen in a while. Aaron Fiedelack gets past Darkius for P8. But Darkius is going to fight back, but he gets loose and he's lost it. Where is he? He managed to collect it again. Sadly, the camera didn't let us see it, but that must have been a very impressive save. Darkius continues to try and fight, but he goes into the grass and loses that advantage that he had been gaining over the last few laps. Look what's back out of after coming out of the pit lane. Kai Sforza is still down in P12. It looks like the Cillians cars are both disconnected from this race. Kai Sforza 2.2 seconds back off the spinning baguettes, as that is one of the Spinardi cars. They have contact and Spinardi has to take to the curbing. I think that's Robin Moe. Yes, it is. All as one of the spinning baguettes cars gets very loose. Benjamin Warwick, I believe that is, gets quite loose on the exit of final turn. And Robin Moe has to take a little bit of slowing and avoiding action to avoid crashing into the back of the HCR Hilliers Community Racing car. As Husky has crossed the line to take lap 21. As we come now to the last few, well, several laps of this race. Aaron Fiedelack still fighting with Darkius. Looks like he had to avoid a little bit the Spectre car. And it's Darkius up to P8. Well, he gets a little bit in the grass on the entry there. A little bit of smoke telling me that he locked up into the fast right-hander after 100R. Up to... Sorry, no, I'm looking at the wrong place on the track. They're in the S's section. Now I feel like certainly that car, the QB car, seems to have a better aero package at the moment than the Spectre. Oh, as Darkius is very slow out of that corner. He looked like he hadn't even bothered to turn up. That's Aaron Fiedelack back up to P8. Darkius having some sort of issues. I think he might have had a small contact which has caused him damage as he takes the pit lane to repair the car. Once again, a string of bad luck and bad races for Spectre continuing today, with one driver out of the race and another having taken the pit lane twice now after being involved in a lap 1 incident. Darkius was. Look, Jarmeek Smith has just been lapped by Robin Moe once again, as he sits 2 laps now behind Robin Moe, and Daniel Scott meanwhile 1.7 laps behind behind Mats Lindholm Anderson, and certainly about 2 laps behind Husky as well. Have a look. No, Husky has not yet lapped Daniel for the second time, but Daniel currently coming up to final turn, and the pace that Husky is doing, I don't think Daniel is going to have long to wait before he is also lapped for the second time by the Lada Martini cars. The fan assisted, the best fan carrying. As Jaker the Snack, who is also about to be lapped by Husky, and is very comfortably so, now 12 seconds back off of Sench in that fight to catch back up to the small PP car after the rather large crash between him, Sench and Kai Sforza, which led to him taking the pit lane and Kai Sforza taking to the pit lane. Kai having come out though still only in P10. Looks like Darkest is taking a fight to him, but once again the on throttle slip allows then Benjamin Worak to get past the Spectre car. And it looks like Benjamin Worak's going to stay ahead for a little bit. But not for long, as he goes a little bit wide into turn 1, and Darkest uses it as the opportunity to get ahead, and then behind there you can see Charlie taking to the gravel, just seemingly missing his braking zone. Jacob, meanwhile, I think something has happened to Sench, as not only is Jacob suddenly through, so is Aaron Fiedelack and Sylvan Hubble. And Sench is going very slowly. I would say, has he run out of fuel? But the Assetto Corsa requires a fuel level in electric engine cars just to make them work, but I don't think you can actually run out. Has he run out of power? As Sench is going incredibly slowly and is about to be passed by his own teammate, Kai Sforza, for P9. It looks like the battle between Small PP and Peace T, as I'm laughing at the fact that Dark is once again getting loose on an exit, almost made this situation so much worse for Sench, but thankfully caught the car in time. It looks like that battle between Small PP and Peace T has ended in quite an anticlimactic fashion, and Sench is crawling to the pit lane, assumedly to the pit lane, having some sort of issue with his car. I don't know, I don't believe the electric engines, which are essentially just an ERS system in Assetto Corsa, I don't believe that they have a limit in lap usage. If they did, that could explain it, but as he comes to the pit lane, I'm assuming that's not the issue, and whatever has gone wrong he will seek to solve. So look, Dark is now, having got past Benjamin Worak again, is on the tail of Kai Sforza, who he will be seeking to take that P9 away. Anything that this driver can do to try and maintain that P3 in the drivers' standings. But one driver who will be very happy with the current situation is Mr. Daniel Scott, who currently sits P3 as the Lada Martini, one of the Lada Martini cars, trying to pass this battle, but Small PP and the Spectre car have a little coming together. Very light rear wheel, front wheel contact. Very light contact but causes them both to spin, and it is now Husky must have been the one that got through, and Mats and Madison is also now charging through the field with that fan assisted car. As I was saying, yes, Daniel Scott will be the happiest person, I think, out of this race. His main competitors of the Indian bus drivers, neither of whom have turned up to today's race. And he has currently beaten his teammate thus far and will have a good number of points to lead in to the final race. Although it'll be interesting to see what the calculations are once the drop week is applied. And Mats Linham Anderson is on the final lap. At some point, Mats got past Husky, and I'm not quite sure when. These cars are so quick that anything can happen, but it looks like Mats, having qualified P1, is going to take P1 right at the end of this race. As that is Mats Linham Anderson across the line to take P1, followed by his teammate Husky. Only 1.6 seconds between them. Daniel Scott then takes the line 2 laps down for P3. Robin Moe then rounds the final turn, coming up to the start-finish straight to take P4. It is a Lada Martini 1-2. It is a Spinardi 3-4. That will be of massive benefit to the Spinardis, who will now take the lead in the team's championship with the absence of the Indian bus drivers. I don't think there are any real final lap battles to be looking at, sadly. Jacob doing a little bit of drifting practice in the final turn. As I have called the podium sitters into the interview waiting room, I have asked Sedge what happened to him. He has simply replied with limp mode, which I assume means that something weird happened with fuel or energy deployment that required him. Oh, sorry, actually no, sorry. The energy is limited, I think, over the course of the race, now that I think about it. And he must have just run out. So we shall certainly see if that happens to anyone else going forwards in the final race in 3 weeks' time. But let's first start to speak to your podium sitters. Starting with Daniel Scott. Hello, Daniel.
Hello, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. How are you?
That was a great race. I really enjoyed that.
Did you?
In certain aspects, yes. In certain aspects, not so much. But yeah, it was okay. It was okay. How did you enjoy it?
It was certainly interesting to watch. There were some good battles going on down the grid, not so much at the top of it, other than
Well,
trying to
that's
fight
because a
through
certain
traffic.
team paid for an upgrade and didn't actually pay for it. So,
What do you mean?
well, there was an agreement between ourselves and the Ladder Martini lads that if we were to share our upgrade tech with them, we would get the positions back, and they reneged on
Oh,
that. So,
well.
yeah, that's the type of guys they are.
Did you get an agreement in writing?
I did not. I should have.
Well, you
I
should
thought
have.
they had honor. So,
Honor from Lada
yeah.
Martini.
I know, I know. I'm stupid of me.
You
But I
shouldn't have
came
expected it.
third. My
You
teammate
did.
was washed, and less than stellar performance from him. But we're still doing well in
Yes.
the championship. I
Well,
would like to see where we are in the championship
you should be
with the drop
leading.
week.
Oh, with the
With the
drop
drop week,
week. Sorry, with the drop week, I will certainly be interested to see where you come out, as you are
yes.
leading without it, and with Mats and Husky above you, will still definitely be leading without it. I think you might even be leading with it, but we will have to find out. In the teams championship, you're definitely leading because the Indian bus drivers
I
are
am
not
leading.
here.
I'm leading by 1 point.
1 point.
Yes, because my VIR is the one that gets dropped, and that's 13 points
Oh,
that would get taken away. And Robin has a week where he didn't attend, so he stays where he is. So it's 106 to 105.
ooh, very nice. Well, going into Suzuka, certainly going to be interesting. 3 weeks to wait. Are you
Yes, unfortunately.
are you looking forward to it? Is there anything you're
I
thinking
am.
about bringing to the next race?
Well, we're slow on engine, and obviously there's a lot of straights. My teammate can't seem to drive the car as well as I can, so the championship's wide open.
Is this your
Um,
revenge? Is this your revenge interview?
yeah, absolutely. Yes.
For all those time your teammate has spoken down to you,
I mean, he was
despite all
quite
the
far
coaching
behind.
he gives you.
He murdered multiple people. I did as well, but I know we'll see what happens in the tickets. But yeah, overall it was a good race. Robin did well. I did well. We did what we had to do. It was a shame the IBD guys didn't show up, but I don't know what went on there. But I would like to see them at Suzuka again.
The van car though certainly had power. What do you think about that going forwards?
I mean, it's stupidly overpowered, way, way overpowered. But now all the other cars are going to have it for the next race, so it should be fascinating. Suzuka should be a race everyone should show up for.
Well, I am hoping that they will, but until then, congratulations on your P3 and
No
on
worries
your
at all.
championship leading. And I'm
Yes,
sure I
thank you very
will
much.
very possibly speak to you next time out, potentially as a championship winner.
Yes, that would be wonderful, but we'll see. We'll see.
All right, see you, Daniel.
All right, catch you later.
All right, I am now going to bring in your P2 sitter, Mr. Sinistoff Mill Husky. Hello, Husky.
Hello, hello.
How was that race for you? Congratulations on a P2. However, for most of that race, you were leading. What exactly happened? I didn't see what happened to cause the change.
Yeah, I just had some transmission issue, which caused me to slow down on the straight. I was very curious. I got it solved once Mats overtook me, but yeah, just strange.
So you had a ridiculous amount of cornering ability with that particular fan-based upgrade that you had. How was the pace? How was controlling the pace of that car around this track, and how was it, especially when you came up to lap traffic?
I think it wasn't much of an issue. We all know Lada Martini has the best drivers on the grid, so obviously it was going to be no issue. We also would like to say that the fan upgrade was a very minor upgrade, and it was our pure driving skill that won the race today.
Of course. Well, Matt's did. Matt's did come in begging for money, so I guess you must have got some of that, a little bit of extra coaching.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, just remember this day as the day where Lada Martini won on pure skill.
Right, so 3 weeks away due to Labor Day weekend in America, Suzuka. I'm assuming that a lot of other teams are going to take the fan car. What are you going to try and do to try and repeat your success today? Do you have any ideas?
I think sabotage is the only logical solution. Um, yeah, we're thinking about some stuff, but we just need to put some things in place. But if anything goes wrong at the next race, it wasn't us. Yeah, that's about it, I think.
Well, very well. Short and sweet. Well, congratulations on your P2. That'll certainly be interesting to see how that brings you up in the driver's standings, as you have been steadily climbing throughout the season. So, congratulations, and maybe I will talk to you next time out. But until then, I shall see you later.
All right. Thank you for the stream.
All right, cheers.
Bye-bye.
Right, that was your P2 sitter, Husky. And now we shall speak to the 911 Lada Martini car of Mats Linham Anderson. Hello, Mats.
Hello.
Congratulations, P1, your first
Thank-
Project A race win.
Yes.
How,
But I was given the P1 though. The Husky one.
Husky claimed he had transmission issues.
Oh, did he? Why did we put that mechanic on his car?
How was that race for you? You qualified pole, but lost the P1 position quite early on in the race. How
Yeah.
was handling the pace of the car and the lapping of traffic?
Horrifying.
Well, you had about a 30-second advantage on some of the cars at the back of the grid.
I thought I had a big crash. That's what happened in lap 3 or something, into the hairpin in sector 2, and there were 2 cars. Got past the one car pretty neatly, and the other car I was thinking, all right, I'm gonna dive on the outside. Let him just do the racing line, because I came pretty late after, around the other corner, and he decided that he wanted to let me go on the inside. So we were both headed towards the outside of the track, and that was a big hit on his tail.
But you survived, I guess, in the end.
Yeah.
You came home to take P1. So 3 weeks, sorry, I keep saying. 3 weeks out due to Labor Day weekend, Suzuka. I was saying to your teammate, obviously, other teams are going to take the fan car, as it seems to be the way forwards. If it is,
Yeah,
to
I suppose
continue.
so.
Any ideas on what you're going to do to try and maintain your edge?
Now we're just gonna keep going for the illegal tire. And with the car being this light, it's just
Well, fair
the
enough.
dominant fan car.
Well, fair enough. Well, congratulations to you, Mats. And clearly your pleas earlier in the season for more funding paid off.
Yeah, we sold a lot of martini bottles last weekend, so we were suddenly given a handful of cash stacks to just toss on the car.
Right, well, congratulations, and maybe I will speak to you again in 3 weeks' time. But until then, speak to you later, and thanks for coming to talk to me.
All right, see you, man.
See you, Mats. Right, that was your race winner, Mats Linham Anderson, who won that race with a total race time of 38 minutes, 13 seconds, 0.353. Certainly a little bit quicker than the race was aiming for because of the absolute pace that car had due to that fan upgrade. We'll certainly see how that continues going forwards. But before I leave you, let's have a look at our upcoming events in 1 week's time. As I said, so in 3 weeks' time, we go back to Suzuka. However, before then, RP Series, which doesn't have a poster, but I have a nice little calendar for, goes to its final round next weekend at Suzuka. Round 5 of our Assetto Corsa Competizione GT3 Racing Series, where the 3 classes of drivers, Pro, Am, and Silver, compete for the championship. And actually, you spoke to him today, the P3 sitter and current championship leader, Mr. Daniel Scott, is currently leading the Silver class in RP Series and will be hoping to take home his first potential championship of this current cycle of Racing Power Series. And maybe we'll get another one 2 weeks after that with Project A. And then Racing Pals Endurance, the 4 hours of Zolder, takes place on the 16th of September. Practice starts at 4 PM BST. You can join. It will be GT3 only, with solo or duo teams available. We'll have live stewarding and a live stream on here, the Racing Pals YouTube channel. And you can sign up in the RP Enduro channels on our Discord server or on our race app, which you'll be linked to on Discord anyway, so you'll end up there either way. But until then, and until next time, I have been your commentator, Mr. James Andrews. Join me in 3 weeks' time for the season finale of Project A at the Great Circuit of Suzuka for our second Japanese race and our final race of this season 2 of Project Ameliorate. Good night.